Hello, my name is Mick, and this is the daily broadcast, A Word from the Shadows. Today is Saturday, April the 8th, 2023. And what's going on around the world? Well, it would seem by most that the United States intentionally and or unintentionally has set Ukraine up for a total annihilation, total destruction. The road to hell is oftentimes paved with great intentions, noble intentions, but the road inevitably leads to the same place, hell. And that's what Ukraine is dealing with right now, a hellish situation. As we've all seen the pictures of the Wagner Group, a Russian paramilitary organization, and Russian troops are waving flags from downtown Bakhmut. What does it all mean? Well, what it means is that tens of thousands, I say that again, tens of thousands of brave, honorable Ukrainians, soldiers, have been blown to pieces and shot to smithereens, defending their country against the Russian invaders. And why it is definitely a noble cause. Count me in. An absolutely noble cause. If somebody invaded my country here in the United States, I'd go out in the streets and fight them too. However, it doesn't seem that the will to fight, the determination to fight, or the weapons that NATO and the United States has provided up to this point is making a huge difference. Russia and the Russian troops and the Russian missiles continue to rain down on Ukraine. Now, Ukraine finds itself in a position where 200,000 plus Ukrainian soldiers have been blown to smithereens, shot to pieces. In other words, they're dead. They're gone and they're not coming back. And that is a really good way to ensure a country will cease to exist. Sometimes, and I know it's difficult for all of us, but sometimes you have to put your pride in check. Mothers do it all the time. They get angry. They want to fight because something happened to their child. But they know if they act on their emotions, their basic instincts, it's possible that they'll be separated from their children. Even though they're 100% right, and even though by all conventional thinking they should fight, but they let their better judgment prevail, and they put their pride in check. What's going on now in Ukraine is a horrible, horrible situation, especially for the Ukrainian civilians, the children, the old people. They have no homes anymore because Russia has destroyed them. Now, ultimately, yes, that is Russia's fault. But would it have happened if NATO and the United States had not funneled millions of dollars worth of weapons and training to Ukraine? Now, you have to be mindful. The United States doesn't live in Ukraine. The United States and its soldiers and its political hacks can get back in their airplanes and back on their warships and sail away. And I would imagine that's what's going to happen at some point. Because also, the United States has sent warships and warplanes to the Korean Peninsula, doing everything that they can possibly do to provoke China. Now, I haven't heard this discussed in the mainstream media, and I probably will never hear it discussed, and most people don't even think in these terms. But China has billions of people. They can put an army in the field right now as big or bigger than our entire population of 350 million people. Yeah, that's correct. China, if they were a mind to, can put a standing army mobilized, moving forward against anybody they want to move forward against with over 350 million troops. And if somehow all those troops was annihilated, they can put another force, another army on the ground of over 350 million troops if they were a mind to. They don't all have to be men, big tough guys. You got a lot of women that are in the military too. You people need to start thinking out of the box. This could spell the end for all of us. Do you want nuclear bombs raining down from coast to coast? America and this old fool that's in the Oval Office is doing everything he can possibly do to destroy the United States, whether that's his intentions or not. Again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, I am not of the opinion that the guy has good intentions. I'm of the opinion that he suffers from some serious cognitive issues. And I know several people that voted for Mr. Biden who would not vote for him again, no matter when the election was held, tomorrow or a little less than 2 years from now. They have made their mind up. The guy's an old fool, and they would not vote for him again. They voted for him, really, because they just didn't like some of the things President Trump said. Rightfully so. You don't get far, Mr. Trump, by villainizing your own citizens, by making your own citizens feel bad about themselves. It's your responsibility to do the right thing and help the country heal. To try to say soothing words, not insightful words. But that was not the case with Mr. Trump. He incited every time he had the opportunity. Now, to his credit, he did pull a lot of troops out of the Middle East. Have you watched the television commercials for wounded warriors, for disabled American veterans? Well, if the United States government was taking care of these veterans, they wouldn't have to come on TV and run commercials and beg for money so they could get wheelchairs and prosthetic limbs. Now, I think that's one of the most noble donations an American citizen can make to a fallen soldier or to a soldier that has suffered debilitating injuries on the front lines. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is those soldiers and those organizations shouldn't need to exist. America should go out of their way to take care, excellent medical care, above board and way above average medical care for our fallen soldiers and for the soldiers that have returned home missing arms and legs in Iraq. But what did we do? Well, in Iraq, we decided to pull out. And in Afghanistan, the old fool, not only did he pull out, but he left our American citizens there. Pulled the military out first and left American citizens to the Taliban's control. The guy is an old fool, and he should be impeached immediately, in my humble opinion. Now, I'm not saying Trump's a whole lot better, okay? That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying the guy who's in the Oval Office now, in my humble opinion, is an old fool. It's called freedom of speech. I have a right to say that. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, he's better than Trump. Maybe he is. Okay? I'm not saying that. I just don't think he is. You see, here's the thing. People say mean things, okay, sometimes. And I understand how that upsets some people, rightfully so. As the president, you should say things to calm people down and to soothe the situation over, not incite it. But you got one thing when you say mean, dumb things, and when you actually commit millions and billions of dollars in weaponry, where tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have actually been blown to smithereens. Everything this guy, and I call him this guy, Joe Biden, because he's not my president. He is the president of the United States. Was it a cheated election? Who knows? Some people say it was, some people say it wasn't. But he's not my president based on what he has done at every turn. Everything he has touched has fell apart. You have food rights in Pakistan. Pakistan has nuclear weapons and the citizens are having food rights. Is that going to come here? Well, it could. Make no mistake. I've seen hurricanes where people were out in the aftermath fighting over ice and basic amenities, over gasoline. So sure, it could happen. Don't think that you're above it all because you're here in the United States. That ain't the way it works, pal. And when you see all those corner stores and all those little bodegas and Dollar Generals and 7-Elevens, when you go in there and you look around all those shelves, you know where most of that stuff comes from? That's right, China. So what's going to happen with our food supply? And the supply of batteries and generators and microchips and all kind of other things if and when, and I would say when, not if, we have a conflict with China. Okay? It could very easily lead to food rights right here in the good old USA. And where is the so-called, the peace-loving party? Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and AOC and the squad. Haven't heard a peep out of them. Not a peep. And tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers have been blown to pieces. Now, two things are going to happen in Ukraine. Either America's going to back off, and the United Nations is going to back off, or they're going to end up having to send in troops. And that brings up another good question. Do you honestly think that our young people are going to volunteer for the armed forces in mass numbers like they did in World War II? World War II was a different situation. You had a monster who was putting people in ovens. He needed to be shut down. So yeah, people volunteered by the hundreds of thousands to go shut that monster down. But the wars we get in now are financially motivated. Everything that we're doing is a result of us weaponizing the dollar. When we froze Russian assets, that sent a wake-up call to the rest of the world and the rest of the countries around the world. If they can do it to Russia, a country that has thousands of nuclear weapons, if they can freeze billions and billions of their assets and not allow them to trade on the SWIFT trading system, i.e. and use the petrodollar, what could they do to our little country that don't even hardly have a military or doesn't have any nuclear weapons? See, that's where Joe Biden made a huge error in judgment, because now more and more countries are lining themselves with the BRICS. And that's what all these wars are about. China doesn't need us. People say, oh, China needs the United States to sell their cheap stuff in. No, they went the other way. They went through the Eurasia continent, and they built down into Africa and India. You don't think all those African countries want big screen TVs? You don't think all those African countries want Nike sneakers? And not just a few here and there, but by the truckload, by the shipping container load. China doesn't need America. America needs China. I hate to say it, but see, we allowed all of our CEOs and all of our big corporations to sell out, to put the American worker out of work in the 70s and move all their manufacturing plants over to China, to manufacture cheap goods using slave labor, and we bought it up as quick as it could get back over here. So if China's a danger, it's because we made them into a danger. We made them into a superpower. We made them into the second largest economy in the world because of American imperialism greed. That's why. And now they can stand up to us. Don't think that people are scared of America no more. We're not the only one with nuclear weapons. And if you can't whoop them one way, you whoop them another. And a lot of countries are starting to think like this. Can we win a nuclear war? Can we initiate a first strike and take certain American targets out, which will prevent them from hitting us back? People are tired of American being the bullies. And the fat, comfy lifestyle most of us Americans take for granted is fixing to end. We're not a good trading partner. We'll villainize somebody in a heartbeat. We lock our own citizens up for nonviolent crimes for hundreds of years, for life sentences without parole, for nonviolent crimes. We have more people in jail than Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea combined. And this is the land of the free and the home of the brave? Well, if it is, I must be. It doesn't appear so. Okay? And I think, in my humble opinion, things are fixing to get ready to really and truly escalate. And hey, we got to know. Well, how can you protect yourself in these trying times? I'm a huge proponent in diversifying. And I'm a huge proponent of gold and silver. Why? Because you might have slight variations in the price of gold and silver, but it will always maintain value the world over. So let's say you got $2,000. You buy an ounce of gold. 5 years from now, it'll probably be worth $4,000. There's a possibility it could only be worth $2,200. But you maintained your wealth. You didn't lose it because a bank went under and the government said, oh, well, we're going to write that bank off and you're just out of luck because they weren't one of the banks that we deemed too big to fail. Gold and silver is a hedge against financial ruin. Now, I'm not advocating that you go and spend all your money up buying gold and silver, but you should definitely be invested in gold and silver, and you should probably think about looking into investing in mining operations that mine for lithium and other material necessary to make batteries that can store and maintain a charge for a long period of time. Because if green energy is ever going to take off, that's where it's at. You got to maintain, you have to build and be able to produce batteries that will maintain a charge. And gold and silver, it has never been not worth nothing. Since it was originally invented as a monetary form of transfer of money, it has always maintained wealth. It has always maintained value. $1,000, you know, that's what you hear the old saying, well, in 1920 it was $1,000, but by today's money it'd be $50,000. You know why that is? It's called inflation. It takes $50,000 today to buy something you could have bought for $1,000 50 years ago. So about every year, it seems like, if you use that mathematics, it takes twice as much money to buy the same thing. Yeah, it's a serious thought. And I would advise all of you guys to think about investing in gold and silver as a way to prepare for the future. You can't be too careful. When your kids start crying and say, hey, I'm hungry, Mom, Dad, what are you going to tell them? Oh, well, I had faith in the good old petrodollar and the good old greenback. Well, Mom, that bank went out of business. They won't answer your calls. All your credit cards and debit cards don't work anymore, Ma. I'm hungry. If you had that piece of gold, you could go change it in for whatever monetary system was being used in your area and go buy something to eat, or buy some fuel for your car, or fuel for your generator, or buy a generator. These are questions that everyone should ponder, and probably do a little bit more than ponder, actually act on. Is Elon Musk crazy like a fox, or is he just crazy? Huh? A lot of individuals and corporations are saying they won't pay any money for this blue tick verification. It's my understanding that they want to charge $8 or $10 for an individual for 30 days and $1,000 for a corporation for 30 days. And a lot of individuals that have notoriety and a lot of corporations that have notoriety are saying, hey, we're not paying that. And Twitter's saying, well, hey, we won't give you the blue tick verification. Now, obviously, this is a gold mine, a gold field for the scammers that are coming out of the woodwork in droves to try to give you a fake blue tick verification, or to take away a legitimate blue tick verification. Is Twitter in trouble? How will it all unfold? We got to know. And this is the final question of the day. Do you feel safer now that Joe Biden has been the president for approximately 2 years? Or do you feel much unsafer? And if the election was held tomorrow and it came down to Joe Biden and Donald Trump again, like it did last time, who would you vote for? Is it something you can say right now? Or is it something you'd have to think about? This show's not about making your mind up for you. I believe everyone should have unadulterated free thought and free speech. Remember, you don't have to protect the speech that everybody likes or everybody agrees with. The speech that needs protecting is the speech that people don't agree with. Because when you pass a law or a rule that's saying they can come in and round up that one weirdo guy, it's only a matter of time before they use that same rule and that same regulation on you. There was a time that they passed some laws called the RICO laws. That's on the federal level, and it allows them to go after big mafioso types and big drug kingpins and so on. Well, see, they locked up all those guys. Them guys has been locked up for a while. So now you know what they do? They use those same crime, those same laws on low-level street dealers. That's right. Your brothers, your nephews, your friends, your family could get caught up in a federal conspiracy case where they sold one nickel bag of weed or some other substance unlawfully, and now they're looking at 5 or 10 years of a mandatory sentence in federal prison. So you have to be real careful about signing off on these laws, because the intended law is to go after this scumbag or this bad guy. Because after they round him up, prosecutors and law enforcement still need to build their career. You build a career by getting arrests and convictions. Just like the district attorney for the county of New York, Manhattan. He's going to build a whole career out of prosecuting Donald Trump. Now, I'm not saying the guy's not a worthy attorney, and I'm not saying he's not a decent prosecutor, etc. What I'm saying is he's going to have notoriety now that he could have never achieved if Donald Trump had not come along. So the question is, do you feel safe now that Joe Biden is your president? Whether if you like it or not, or whether if you voted for him or not, or whether if you claim him as your president. Unfortunately, he is still our president. And I would guess that tens of thousands, maybe millions of more people will die because this old fool don't know how to put his pride in check. Will ex-President Trump be convicted? Well, only time will tell. And we'll keep you posted here, because we got to know.